In a world filled with constant distractions, rapid changes, and pressures from all directions, we often feel as if we are losing control of our own minds. Modern life draws us into an endless cycle of notifications, expectations, and emotional reactions. And precisely here, the wisdom of the Stoics becomes invaluable. They remind us that true freedom and inner strength do not lie in external circumstances, but in our ability to master ourselves. Today we will talk about Stoic discipline, an ancient art of self-mastery that teaches us to govern our mind and emotions so that we can live a freer, calmer, and more meaningful life. This discipline is not about suppressing emotions or becoming a cold machine, but about learning how to direct our thoughts, desires, and fears in such a way that they no longer control us, but serve us. We will go through the main principles of Stoic discipline step by step and uncover how they can be applied in our daily lives. Because even though almost 2,000 years have passed since the time of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus, their advice is perhaps even more relevant today than it was back then. So let's begin our journey into the depths of Stoic discipline, where strength does not mean harshness, but inner stability, and where freedom does not mean doing whatever we want, but being free from the tyranny of our own uncontrolled mind. Discipline of perception. How to see the world clearly. The first step in Stoic discipline is learning to perceive the world clearly and without distortion. Epictetus often reminded his students that people are not troubled by things themselves, but by the opinions they form about them. In other words, it is not external events that disturb us, but the way we interpret them. For example, if someone insults us, we may immediately feel hurt, angry, or inferior. But according to the Stoics, the insult itself is just a sequence of words carried by sound waves. What gives it power over us is our own interpretation, the belief that it threatens our value, reputation, or pride. If we can change this interpretation, we take away its power. Discipline of perception therefore means constantly training ourselves to distinguish between what is real and what is just a projection of our mind. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He urged himself not to let appearances and first impressions take over his thinking, but to look at things as they really are. For instance, instead of saying, "I lost my job, it's a disaster," a Stoic would say, "I lost my job. This is an event. Whether it is a disaster or an opportunity depends on how I decide to interpret it." This shift in perspective gives us freedom. In practical life, this discipline of perception can be trained in small steps. The next time something upsets you, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what exactly happened? And what is just my interpretation of it? This simple exercise helps to slow down automatic reactions and create space for calm, conscious action. Stoic discipline of perception is therefore about mental clarity. It is about stripping away illusions, biases, and impulsive judgments so that we can see the world as it truly is, neutrally, objectively, and without unnecessary drama. And this is the foundation upon which all other aspects of Stoic discipline are built. The art of accepting what you cannot control. At the very heart of Stoic philosophy lies one simple yet powerful principle: distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. Most of the suffering we experience does not come from reality itself, but from our resistance to it. We fight with things we cannot change. We get angry at the past, or we worry about the future. But Stoicism teaches us that true freedom begins when we stop wasting energy on what is beyond our reach. Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we hold about them." The problem is rarely the event itself, but our interpretation of it. Think about it. If it rains during your vacation, it's not the rain that makes you miserable, but your thought, "This ruins everything." The rain simply is. It's your judgment that creates suffering. Training the mind to accept reality as it is does not mean passivity or resignation. It means clarity. If something is within your control, your choices, your words, your actions, then you can act. But if something is not, the weather, the past, other people's behavior, then resistance only drains your energy. The art of acceptance is, in fact, the art of freedom. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, your inner space opens up. You suddenly have more energy for what truly matters. You become calmer, more grounded, and less reactive. And in this calmness, your mind gains strength. A practical exercise. Each morning, remind yourself of this division. Write down one thing that you can control today and one thing that you cannot. Then consciously decide to act on the first and let go of the second. With time, this practice becomes second nature, and your mind gains an almost unshakable stability. Emotional mastery through perspective. The Stoics knew that emotions are not enemies but guides. Anger, fear, sadness, they all contain messages. But when we let them dominate us without reflection, we become their slaves. The Stoic path is not about suppressing emotions, but about mastering them through perspective. Imagine your mind as a city. Emotions are like citizens. They have the right to speak, but not the right to rule. You, as the governor of this city, must listen to them, understand them, but ultimately decide according to reason. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. In his meditations, he constantly reminded himself, this anger will fade. This fear is only a thought. This pain will pass. He trained his perspective to see emotions not as absolute truths, but as temporary waves. When you realize that emotions are shaped by your perception, you gain the ability to transform them. Fear becomes caution. Anger becomes energy for change. Sadness becomes a reminder of what you value. The Stoic technique here is called cognitive distancing. When a strong emotion arises, don't say, I am angry. Instead, say, there is anger in me. This small shift creates space between you and the emotion. Suddenly, you're not fully absorbed in it. You are the observer. And from this position, you can choose how to respond. Modern psychology has confirmed this ancient wisdom. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective forms of therapy, is based directly on Stoic practices. By changing the way we interpret situations, we change our emotional response. The more you practice this, the more your emotions stop controlling you. You remain human. You still feel deeply, but you no longer drown in every wave that arises. Instead, you stand like a sailor who knows how to navigate even through the storm. Practical tools for Stoic discipline. Stoic philosophy was never meant to remain abstract. Unlike many other thinkers, the Stoics wanted their teachings to be applied in daily life. Over centuries, they developed concrete exercises that trained the mind and emotions. And these tools remain powerful today. Premeditatio malorum, anticipating difficulties. One of the main Stoic practices is to consciously imagine potential challenges before they happen. At first, this may seem pessimistic. Why dwell on what could go wrong? But Stoics use this exercise to prevent surprise and emotional overreaction. By mentally preparing for setbacks, traffic jams, difficult conversations, or rejections, we build resilience. When these situations actually occur, we are ready to face them with calm and composure. Dichotomy of control. Focus only on what you can influence. Perhaps the most famous Stoic principle is to separate what is within your control from what is not. We cannot control the weather, other people's opinions, or random events, but we can control our thoughts, values, and actions. Concentrating on what is within our power prevents wasted energy, frustration, and unnecessary suffering. Voluntary discomfort. Training. mind and body. Seneca encouraged occasionally exposing oneself to discomfort. Wearing simpler clothes, sleeping on a harder surface, or eating frugally, these exercises were not about punishment, but awareness. They teach that happiness does not depend on comfort, and that we can endure more than we imagine. Today, this could include cold showers, fasting, or limiting social media. Each act strengthens self-discipline and prepares us for life's unexpected difficulties. Daily reflection and journaling. Marcus Aurelius left behind one of the greatest gifts for all of us, his personal notes known as meditations. They were a daily mental workout, reflecting on mistakes, reminding himself of principles, and striving for improvement. We can do the same by spending a few minutes each evening writing, where did I act with awareness today? Where did I react impulsively? How can I respond better tomorrow? These small exercises compound over time, shaping a disciplined and resilient mind. Through these tools, Stoic discipline becomes a practical skill, not just a philosophical idea. Daily practice transforms ordinary reactions into conscious actions, giving control back to the individual. Benefits of Stoic discipline. You might wonder, why invest time in this kind of discipline? What real benefits can it bring? The Stoics believed that discipline is the key to inner freedom and a flourishing life. Inner calm and reduced stress. By focusing only on what is in your control, you conserve energy and reduce unnecessary stress. Events that once triggered frustration, delays, criticism, or unexpected changes lose their power. Most problems, when examined with clarity, turn out to be far less significant than we imagined. Improved relationships. Many conflicts arise from uncontrolled anger or hurt pride. Stoic discipline teaches measured responses. When we act thoughtfully rather than impulsively, we cultivate patience and understanding. This naturally strengthens relationships, at home, at work, and with friends. Resilience and perseverance. Life is full of trials, failures, and losses. Those without discipline are easily overwhelmed, but disciplined individuals see challenges as opportunities to grow. Stoics considered adversity as a kind of mental gym, strengthening the mind and character. Each obstacle becomes a chance to practice composure and determination. True freedom. Perhaps the greatest reward of discipline is freedom. Real freedom does not mean doing whatever we want. It means not being enslaved by impulses, emotions, or external circumstances. As Seneca said, "He who is a slave to his passions is less free than he who is chained by external bonds." By practicing Stoic discipline, we cultivate a life of clarity, calmness, and meaningful action, unaffected by chaos around us. We gain a stability that allows us to navigate life's storms with confidence and purpose. Looking back, it becomes clear that Stoic discipline is neither mysterious nor unattainable. It is a path that anyone can follow, regardless of life circumstances or the challenges they face. The Stoics teach us three profound truths. The mind is our greatest ally and our greatest challenge. What we think determines how we feel. By mastering our thoughts, we gain mastery over our life. Emotions are natural, but they should not control us. We can experience anger, fear, or sadness, but we have the power to choose how we respond. Practical tools, such as premeditatio malorum, the dichotomy of control, voluntary discomfort, and daily reflection, give us the power to cultivate discipline every day. What does all of this bring us? Inner calm, the ability to persevere through challenges, stronger relationships, and, most importantly, true freedom. Freedom from being a slave to impulses and passions. Freedom to act deliberately and wisely. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "He who conquers himself is stronger than he who conquers the world." This is perhaps the greatest message of Stoic discipline. True power does not lie in wealth, status, or possessions. True power lies in the quiet strength within, in the calm that cannot be shaken even when the world around us is chaotic. So ask yourself, where in your life are you losing discipline? Is it in your thoughts that spiral out of control? In emotions that dominate your actions? Or in daily habits that weaken your resolve? Start small. Choose one Stoic tool we discussed and apply it today. Discipline is not a destination. It is a practice. Every day, in every situation, again and again. And with each step, you move closer to what the Stoics called true freedom. Freedom of the mind and the heart.